This is Shiloh, where the tent of meeting was set up after the Israelites entered Canaan. It served as the center of worship for the Israelites for approximately 300 years. At that time, Eli was the high priest. Eli had two sons, Hophni and Phinehas. They served as priests alongside Eli at the tent of meeting in Shiloh. According to Leviticus 7, when making an offering, they were to first burn the fat on the altar as an offering to God. Only the breast and right thigh were given to the priest as his portion. The rest of the meat was left for the person offering the sacrifice and their family to eat. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verses 12 through 16 tells us that Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, treated the offerings to the Lord with contempt, and knowing they violated the law, they took the fat that was dedicated to the Lord, and they even took away the meat cooked in the pot by the people who offered the sacrifices.
Eli was a failed priest. He not only knew that his two sons, who were also priests, did not follow the laws of sacrifice, but Eli also knew that they were committing adultery with the women who served before the tent. After Eli learned about the wicked deeds of his sons, he merely rebuked them, saying, "Why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all these people. No, my sons, it is not good report that I hear the people of the Lord spreading abroad." Eli was also a failed father. Instead of seriously stopping his sons from sinning, he tolerated their continued wrongdoing.
1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 27 through 36 tells us that a man of God came to Eli delivering God's message, rebuking Eli for tolerating the evil deeds of his two sons and for honoring his sons more than God, and he sternly pronounced,
"See, a time is coming when I will cut off your strength and the strength of your ancestors' families, so that no one in your family will live to old age. The fate of your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, shall be the sign to you. Both of them shall die on the same day."
Eli was also a failed judge. He served as a judge for 40 years, and the Bible says, "The word of the Lord was rare in those days. Visions were not widespread."
Why was the word of the Lord rare? We can look at it from a relational perspective. If two people barely speak to each other, it means that the relationship is distant. In the same manner, when the Israelites distanced themselves from God, they were unable to hear God speak to them. Let us ask ourselves today, how is my relationship with God? Do I feel that God does not speak much to me? If I am distant from God, is it because I moved away from Him? Now let us take another look at the situation with the Israelites. Israel went out to battle against them. They encamped at Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped at Aphek.
According to research, the modern-day location of Ebenezer is Isbet Sarta, which is about 23 kilometers east of Tel Aviv. Isbet Sarta, the site believed to be Ebenezer, is located on a hill behind a small community. After climbing a slope through a wooded area, you will see the remains of Ebenezer atop this small hill. There's a typical four-room house from the Israelite era in the ruins. The exterior walls of the house are thick on all sides, with only one entrance for defense. This house has bedrooms, kitchen, storage room, and an area for livestock. There are also many silos for storing grains at the ruins. Each one is about 1 meter deep. The sides are built with small stones to prevent the grains from spilling over. From the number of silos, it seems like this site may have been a granary at that time. In addition, we can also see a pagan altar. If we look to the west, we can see Aphek, where the Philistines encamped. Aphek is located approximately 3 kilometers west of Ebenezer. In ancient times, Aphek was located on a major trading route running south to Egypt and north to Mesopotamia. This is a bird's-eye view of the ruins of Aphek taken around 1925. On the mound of the ruins is a fortress built in the 16th century. Next to the ruins, there's a winding spring called Yarkon Springs. Nowadays, the ruins are called Tel Afek, and it has been incorporated into the Yarkon National Park in Israel. The name of the park comes from the Yarkon Spring that flows through the park. The ruins have a history of 6,000 years, and Aphek was one of the Canaanite cities that Joshua conquered. In the ruins of Aphek, there's a fully conserved fortress that was built by the Ottoman Empire between 1572 and 1574. In front of the fortress, the Yarkon Springs is channeled into an artificial lake. The water is peaceful and quiet, creating a tranquil surface that reflects the fortress, which has experienced over 400 years of history. Beneath the fortress, excavations have revealed an Egyptian governor's residence. In front of the residence, there's a trough from which horses and camels could drink water. This Egyptian governor's residence was built between the 15th and 12th century BC, and this explains that during that period, Aphek was under Egyptian rule. But by the 12th to 11th century BC, Aphek came under the control of the Philistines. 1 Samuel chapter 4 records that the Philistines marched out from Aphek and fought the first battle against the Israelites at Ebenezer, resulting in a disastrous defeat for the Israelites.
Yes. The Israelites fought a second battle in Ebenezer and ended in another devastating defeat, resulting in the death of over 30,000 men and the capture of the Ark of God by the enemy. After losing the battle, the Israelites could not understand why they were defeated by the Philistines. They forgot that it was because they followed the customs of the Canaanites and worshipped idols, causing God to withdraw his presence from them. The Lord was not with them anymore. Without God fighting for them, it was inevitable that they would be defeated by their enemies. Tragically, the Israelites believed that by simply carrying the Ark of God to the battlefield would ensure God would fight for them.
So they sent the men to Shiloh to bring the Ark of the Covenant back into the camp. But instead of correcting the mistakes and blunders of the Israelites, Eli neither intervened nor did he prevent them from taking the Ark away. The result was predictable. In 1976, a palm-sized pottery shard was discovered in one of the granaries at the site of Ebenezer in Isbet Sarta. The ink writing on this potsherd was archaeologically proven to be ancient Hebrew. The potsherd was named the Isbet Sarta Ostrakon, dating to the period of the Judges. Although many archaeologists consider the writing on it difficult to decipher, in 1990, archaeologist William Shea proposed that he had deciphered some fragmented phrases from the top 4 lines. We, Shiloh, Aphek, island nation captured, great god of Ashdod, Gath, Gilead, Yarmouth, infantry horse, Berry brothers. William Shea inferred that we refers to the Israelites and island nation refers to the Philistines. So the first 3 lines may be saying we went from Shiloh to Aphek. The Philistines captured the ark and took it to the great god of Ashdod, then to Gath, and then to Kiriath Jearim. This is a historical record of this war from an extra-biblical source. However, the account in 1 Samuel chapters 4 through 6 is more precise. At that time, the Philistines first took the captured ark to Ashdod, one of the 5 major Philistine cities, and placed it in the temple of Dagon. Telmor was a fortified city of the Canaanites and the Philistines during the 16th to 8th century BC. It was situated beside the Lachish River and served as a port city for ancient Ashdod. The Lachish River leads to the Mediterranean Sea. On the Mediterranean coast near Ashdod, there remains fortress ruins from the early Muslim era. This city was built to defend against enemies coming from the Mediterranean Sea. In the ruins, we see defensive fortifications, residences, and storage rooms. Nowadays, the surroundings of the ancient Ashdod city ruins are industrial areas and harbor facilities. The ruins are covered with thorns and weeds. At the highest point of the ruins, there is a well believed to have supplied water for the city's dyeing workshops. There is a fenced-off pool here, which was part of the purple dye workshop. The pool is now dry, and at the bottom, you can see some shells of sea snails. According to research, these shells were used as raw material to produce the purple dye. Back then, whether it was the Canaanites, Philistines, or the Israelites, purple symbolized their wealth and power. At the Museum of Philistine Culture in Ashdod, they showcased idols worshipped by the Philistines who believed these idols controlled fertility. This was what a Philistine temple looked like. 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 2 says the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it into the house of Dagon and placed it beside Dagon. That night, God caused the statue of Dagon to fall face down, breaking off its head and both of its hands. God also brought a plague of tumors upon the people of Ashdod and the surrounding area of the Philistines. The Philistines, fearful of the situation, then moved the ark from Ashdod to Gath and then to Ekron.
This is the ruins of ancient Ekron. Ekron was one of the 5 major Philistine cities. The archaeological artifacts excavated here are currently housed in various museums.
Here we have bronze knives used for sacrificial purposes with ivory handles. There are also precious stones, silver, and clay storage jars, oracle ox bones, ox-formed wine bottles for sacrificial rituals, silver for trading. This rectangular-shaped limestone block is called the dedication inscription. It was excavated from a temple in Ekron. The inscription on it is a dedication to the temple. The inscription lists the names of 5 Philistine rulers' families, indicating that Ekron was a Philistine city. Currently, apart from some olive oil pressing equipment, there isn't much else visible in the ruins. These devices belong to an olive oil pressing facility from the 7th century BC. Archaeological studies confirm that there were hundreds of oil pressing equipment at that time, which explains that the olive oil industry in Ekron was quite extensive. Near the Ekron ruins, there is a reconstructed Philistine street from ancient times, allowing people to understand the main industries and beliefs of Ekron at that time. In the oil pressing workshop, there are shrines and altars for idol worship. This piece of pottery is a replica of an oil separator. The pottery has holes in it. After the olives are pressed, the oil would float above the juice, with juice coming out first and thereafter the oil. These are weaving and dyeing factories, pottery workshops, and kilns. The Philistines living in Ekron worshipped Baal-zebub. In Ekron, over 40 such altars and shrines have been found. The Philistines were skilled in blacksmithing techniques, as evidenced by this replica of their iron plow.
The ark was eventually taken to Ekron. During this process, wherever the ark was sent to, God struck down the people of that city. According to 1 Samuel, chapters 5 and 6, God also afflicted the Philistine with tumors. Some people even died out of panic. The leaders of the Philistines decided to send the ark to Beth Shemesh on an ox cart to see if it was really Yahweh, God, who was attacking them. But the cart stopped in Beth Shemesh.
During the time of Joshua, Beth Shemesh was allotted to the tribe of Dan. It was one of the 48 Levitical cities. Beth Shemesh was a major city in Canaan, and its name means City of the Sun. indicating that the Canaanites there worshipped the sun. These are the ruins of Beth Shemesh's double gates. This is the water reservoir, dating from the Canaanite period to the time of the Israel kingdom. Across from Beth Shemesh is the hill of Zorah. This is the hometown of Samson. Between these two cities lies the Sorek Valley, filled with wheat fields and vineyards. 1 Samuel chapter 6 talks about the cows pulling the cart carrying the ark. The cart came into the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh and stopped there. A large stone was there. The beginning of chapter 7 states that the men of Kiriath Jearim came and took the ark from Beth Shemesh up to Kiriath Jearim. This is Kiriath Jearim, located approximately 14 kilometers northeast of Beth Shemesh, and was a city of the Gibeonites. According to Joshua chapter 15 and 2 Samuel chapter 6, this city was originally called Bala. Today, at the mountaintop of Kiriath Jearim, there's a Jewish seminary for studying scrolls. According to 1 Samuel chapter 7 and verses 1 and 2, the men of Kiriath Jearim placed the ark in the house of Abinadab's on the hill, and his son Eleazar was in charge of guarding it. Based on historical data, it is estimated that the ark remained in Kiriath Jearim for over 60 years, until David brought it from Kiriath Jearim to Jerusalem, as recorded in 2 Samuel chapter 6. If we look at Kiriath Jearim from a distance, imagining the ark, it was probably carried along this winding road all the way to Jerusalem. Chapter 4, verses 17 and 18 records that a man escaped from the battlefield and returned to Shiloh, reporting to a 98-year-old Eli, "The ark of God has been captured." Upon hearing this news, Eli fell backward off his chair by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died, ending Eli's 40-year rule as judge over Israel. Now every word the man of God said in chapter 2 was fulfilled. Starting from chapter 7, verse 3, tells us how Samuel became the judge and priest of all Israel. He judged and led the Israelites to repentance, removing all Baals and Ashtaroths to serving only God. This contrast implies how much of a failure Eli was during his lifetime, as he did not lead the Israelites away from worshiping foreign gods.
There are two lessons we can learn from Eli's failures. First, as individuals serving God in public, we must not neglect our duties, because God is not to be mocked. Second, in private, as parents, we should diligently teach our children to know the Lord. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 18 says, "Discipline your children while there is hope. Do not set your heart on their destruction."
At Spring of Water International Ministries, we invite you to journey with us, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Isaiah 55:10. To find out more, follow Spring of Water International Ministries.